Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Free Black Woman. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your continued support. We had a lot of listens to our interviews, a lot of shares, a lot of just encouragement sent to me. It was really appreciated. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you so much for listening to Denise's story. 2 weeks ago, The Forgiving Black Woman. If you haven't checked it out, please be sure to check it out. Last week, I also did an episode kind of diving deeper into what we were talking about self-care and about taking care of yourself and how that stuff is very important in the episode entitled What My Natural Hair Taught Me. So I go through the journey of, my hair as an adolescent to now, and really like the lessons that I learned from my natural hair. So if you haven't checked that out, please be sure to do that. But on to today's episode, I am so excited to share this with you guys. I got to interview my friend, someone I really look up to, someone who encourages and inspires me, Keisha. Keisha labels herself as the golden black girl, and you'll find out in this episode why. But in this episode, we talk about so many things. I was re-listening to this episode earlier, and I was just writing down all these notes. And so I have my notebook in front of me, just filled with encouragement and things that I forgot that we talked about, nuggets of wisdom that I needed today. Like, this interview took place about a year ago. And even today, it still rings true. It's still what I need to hear. She's just chock full of wisdom. She's just such an inspiration to so many. And I am so glad to say that I know this person. And I'm so glad to say that I got to interview her. So in this episode, we talk about the freedom of letting go, being vulnerable and the freedom that comes along with it, but also the risk. We talk about the work of relationships, mistakes we've made in relationships, how we can be safe places for people. We talk about her production company, her performing arts company, Black Broadway, how she and her husband started it, and just the faith that they used to really just like pursue it full time. We talked about the importance of defending your dreams. We talk about her Chronicles of a Golden Girl. We talk about why talent matters more than your perfectionism. And we also talk about the struggle of comparison that we all face as creatives, but just people in general. Again, there's so many other things in here that I know that you'll find helpful, that you'll find useful and inspiring and encouraging. So please, without further ado, I introduce you to Keisha, the golden black girl. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for joining me today for this interview. If we could start, could you start off with, how would you, who is Keisha? How would you define yourself today?
Wow. That is such a loaded question because I think my instinct is to answer, based on, what I do rather than who I am.
Yeah.
But, of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is that I'm a child of God.
Yeah.
And I think the more that I live, the more that I'm excited to learn what that means, especially as He has put my spirit inside the body of a black woman.
Yeah.
And so, how I can let my light shine as a child of God, as a black woman. I'm Keisha. I'm just a person out here. Definitely a creative, excited to just, I don't know, just to share art with the world, and mainly stories. That's the most fun thing for me now.
So the Keisha you are today, I'm sure has been, you had to go through childhood and things like that to get to where you are today. So who were you as a child, and how has your childhood shaped who you are today?
When I was a kid, I think I was more me than I even am today, probably.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, there was nothing that anybody could tell me I could not do. I was absolutely a dreamer. I was, this person. I was so ambitious. I was extremely ambitious as a child. And not even just in terms of school, but just in terms of what I believed I could do. I wanted to be the first Black female president.
Okay.
I remember, I remember being in second grade and some local politician came to our school and our class, and we had the chance to ask them questions. And I remember asking in second grade, when I run for president, will you vote for me?
Oh, wow.
And when you're in your own skin, you don't think of it as being anything powerful or having any sense of uniqueness. But I think that's who I was when I was a kid. I was very much excited to do whatever it was I put my mind to.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, a lot of things, I say this a lot, I think we should be more childlike.
Yeah.
In that, like, not childish, but childlike. When you go in a classroom, you ask children, like, oh, who can draw? And they all raise their hand, right? But the older we get, it's like we start to measure, oh, can I really draw?
Exactly.
It's like, no one said you had to be Picasso.
Exactly.
Like, do you enjoy drawing? Like,
yeah.
So I do resonate with the fact that when you're a child, you're less, because of, you've been through less things.
Yeah.
Like, you're more open to, like, so many things.
Absolutely. I definitely was that way. And I mean, I think now I'm trying to just get back to that. Reestablishing the truths of my core.
Yeah.
And who God created me to be. Yeah. Which I came out that way. Yeah. And then the world kind of deconstructed some things.
Yeah.
So trying to go back and sort of, reestablish who I once was. And also, of course, with the seasoning that I have, now.
Yeah. Like marrying that with, yeah. So do you think there was a point in your life where you were just kind of like, where you realized you needed to like go back to the core of who you were? Like, do you remember that moment or like a series of moments that happened?
I do think that it was a series of moments. Like, I don't remember one aha moment, but I do know that there were times in my life where I'd see, you never really know the quality of talent that you possess in anything. It could be in math, science, reading, because you're inside your own body. So you don't really have an appreciation for your gifts until you have that moment where you can say, wow, this was pretty good.
Yeah.
This was something.
Yeah.
And so I think that there were times when I had accomplishments that weren't necessarily worldly accomplishments. They weren't necessarily things that, like, they didn't happen at graduations or, times when you did well on a test, but it was the small moments when, like, I did a 5K in 2012. I ran 5K. And that was one time where I was like, wow, like that process, it was a process because I had a fear of running because I had been so slow, and growing up I had issues with my weight, and so I really wanted to confront this fear of running. And so, after having completed the 5K and looking back, that was one of those eureka moments where it was like, wow, I'm getting back to myself. That I really believe that if I say I want to do something, I can actually do it.
Yeah.
So I think I had, some moments where there was no pressure behind it from someone else, because that, that adds its own element.
Yeah.
It was something that I did in my life where it was of my own volition, and I completed it, and I didn't need anybody to say good job, but it was just me realizing what I could do. Those moments are probably the moments that helped me to sort of kickstart my return to, who I once was.
Yeah. So in your opinion, like, what does it mean to be free? Like, what does it mean to really, like, embrace freedom?
Yeah. I think freedom is also one of those things where it's like, there's levels to it.
Yeah.
There's that, that saying like, oh, there's levels to this.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that that's how freedom is. I think when I initially thought about the idea of freedom, I thought of it within the context of maybe like not being in my parents' home anymore, or but I feel like freedom is more of this concept of like that exists more within yourself. And the limitations that we have placed on ourselves based on, or at least for me, it was more of thinking of, stop worrying about what other people are thinking about this decision or about what you have on. I lived so long in that, and even still struggle with it today, of worrying about what somebody else is thinking of me.
Yeah.
And it could be anybody, somebody super close to me, or a stranger on the street, you know, not wanting to look crazy or whatever. And I think that has been how I've experienced freedom, and come to understand it, is just being like free to just live.
Yeah.
And whether that means that it's like living like means taking a picture and posting on Instagram and I had that outfit on already.
True.
Whether it's that, or it could be, making a decision that I may feel like my parents or my family may not approve of.
Yeah.
Like it's that whole thing. And I think, it's baby steps, and like I said, like levels to it, but I think that's what I think of freedom in terms of just like being able to live, and however people are defining live, at the, very simple definition of living and the most complex, without having regard for what somebody else is going to think or say or how they're going to respond.
I think that goes back to like what you were saying about how you define yourself. Like, much like you, I always go to like, what do I do? Like, who am I? What am I doing? And it's like, no, now I try to go to like truths that can't like change. Like, I am a child of God. Like, I am, I don't know, I am my mother's daughter. Like, things like that, like to ground me. And I think in that, when you have those things to put yourself in, like to hold on to, you become more free. Yeah. Because you're less dependent on how other people define you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're less tied to definitions that may change.
Yes.
You know, and today you may be able to say that you are insert this career or profession there, and tomorrow you may not be able to say that. Right. And we have to be careful that we attach such worth, value, and meaning to things that it may not be forever.
Yeah. So how do you, like, where do you think that you are on, like, your journey towards whatever freedom is? Like, if you're here, if there's, like, some sort of, I don't know, map, like, do you think you're close to what freedom is to you, or do you think, like, you're still on your journey?
I think it's like, I don't know. I think it's like every time you think that you've, I'll say this. I've learned not to look at life as a series of like completions, because then I think that's where growth ends. And especially when it comes to freedom, because recently within the last couple of years, I've experienced so many types of freedom within that same definition that I was telling you, that it's helped me to look and say, wow, what are some other things I need to get free from? Rather than look at all the things that I'm already freed from.
That's good. That's a good perspective to have.
And it's hard to look at it like that, because getting free from things, it's a challenge. Because those things that have kept us, I don't want to say in bondage, but have kept us, in bondage, have been boundaries put in place to protect us at times. Right. And And I think that, like, when I was able to sort of challenge those boundaries and realize that some of them were more harmful than they were helpful, I was able to say, you know what, like, I need to get free from this.
Yeah.
I need to let this go.
Yeah.
So I think that I've gotten free from a lot, but I am open to discovering more ways where God will liberate me and allow me to be able to live my life at its full capacity of freedom.
So what is like what does it look like for you to pursue freedom on a daily basis, like you now versus you back when, like before you had those series of events to realize?
Well, I think first of all, to get free from something feels really good. It feels so good. It's bringing tears to my eyes just thinking about different things that I chat about with, like, my friends and accountability partners, of things that literally just don't bother you anymore.
Yeah.
You know, things that you can literally, you know, just feel like it just doesn't bother me. You know?
Yeah.
And when you feel that at your core, that little snippet of goodness, it helps to sort of keep you aligned with living in that every day.
Yeah.
Because you realize that even though the process was painful, it just feels so good to not have the weight on you anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think that it definitely, for me, includes accountability, which I'm blessed to have my husband who I can share everything with and sort of walk through, you know, the process and the journey, and for him to remind me, like, we not there no more. You know, like, like, we remember, like, we over that. And then I'm like, oh, okay, you're right. I forgot. I don't need to worry about this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is the big thing, is that if, you know, every day when I can, you know, feel the amazing feeling of freedom, when I can feel that tangibly, like, that's what allows me to stand in it. And then, of course, the accountability, because I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
And some of those things were norms for a very long time, you know, and so to be able to have the accountability to say, like, you know, you don't have to, you know, check in with this person, or you don't have to worry about, you know, this thing. If I can just have that accountability, that's something that I definitely would utilize on a daily basis.
Yeah. So you touched a little bit about a little bit on, like, community and, like, sisterhood and things like that. Like, so how important is sisterhood to you, and, like, how did you come to? I'm pretty sure you have, like, sisters from different you know, times in life. How did you know, like, well, yes, for one, how important is sisterhood to you, and two, how did you know that someone? How do you know that someone is a sister to you? Like, that it's like, okay, this is the moment where it's like, okay, we are in a relationship with one another.
You know, this question, sisterhood is extremely important to me. Yeah. It's very, very important to me.
Yeah.
I don't have any blood sisters.
Same.
But, you know, I've been blessed to have experienced sisterhood in different capacities, in organizations, and in, you know, just life. And I think the hardest part about me is that I'm always the one that wants to hold on, you know?
Yeah.
And I've come to understand that for life, I want to make it personal, say for my life, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, you know, relationships being seasonal.
Yeah.
And I've had an experienced sisterhood in seasons of my life where I really needed that particular type of sisterhood, you know? And so, you know, I think that some things that help me to know that a person or a relationship has transitioned into sisterhood is, for me, it's always wrapped up into, like, vulnerability.
Yeah.
and sharing.
Yeah.
Because I like to share and I like when other people feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the thing that is so, it makes sisterhood stand out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think even now when I identify like sisterhood as a thing, it's not like, it's like there's levels to that too.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I can be like sis on the street, you know, and then I can say, you know, this person is like legitimately like my blood sister.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that that vulnerability is super important because we need that. That's why, that's one of the reasons why I feel like I need sisterhood. I need sisters.
Yeah.
Is because I need people that I can share and be vulnerable with.
Yeah.
But also I think what makes sisterhood stand out from another type of relationship is what's being reciprocated.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a one-sided relationship.
Yeah.
And you kind of, you know, you just know when you know that you can call on somebody, or that person will hold you accountable, or you know, they won't give you the popular answer, they won't give you the gossipy answer, but you know, that person is someone who you may not even see regularly. You know, like I have people who I know for a fact are my sisters, and I haven't seen them in like a few years.
Yeah.
And that like hurts me to be able to have to say out loud, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, things happen and you grow and you change and you move, and you may talk to that person regularly, or you may not, and pick up the phone and be able to talk for 3 hours. You know what I mean? I think that's part of the dynamic and the definition for me as well, is that I don't feel like I need to babysit our relationship.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And you don't get offended and I don't get offended.
Yeah.
But if I call you crying in the middle of the night, you know, you're up like, you know, what's going on? Like, what happened? Where do we need to go? You know, I have had plenty of times where I'm getting ready to buy a ticket or bought the ticket or made the trip, you know, and you're trying to figure that kind of thing out. But I think that's what makes it stand out. And I think we all need that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not one of the people that say, oh, sisterhood is for some people and not for all.
Right.
But I think we all need to try.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like everybody needs people.
I agree.
You know?
I agree. And I think when you were talking about babysitting a relationship, I think, you know, when you think about it, at this point, most of our lives has been spent in school. Yeah. And so, like, with the friends you have, you're used to seeing them every day and stuff like that. And even in college, like, if you're not down the street, you're, like, down the hall.
Exactly.
Like, so, like, now as we're getting older and we're not so close to our friends and our sisters, specifically, it can kind of feel like, is this relationship failing, you know, because I haven't talked to this person? But then when you come together, it's like nothing's changed, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the true signs of like maturity, you know? It's like, oh, you haven't called me. No, life is busy.
Exactly.
People are busy, you know? And it's not even something to be taken personally, you know?
No.
Sometimes people are not even spending enough time with themselves, let alone with other people. Yeah. It's because,
I mean, and that's totally me. I mean, of course, in a perfect world, I wish that I could have my squad with me, you know, of everywhere. You know, we could go out to eat on a Wednesday night. You know, like all these things. I can remember things we used to do back in college. And you sort of take it for granted. You don't really know where life will, you know, take you. But seriously, I mean, there are friends that I haven't talked to, and they are absolutely people who I identify as my sisters. You know what I mean? I don't think that frequency, and I want you to live your life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And sometimes, and I do feel this way about, I have some friends that I know for a fact that we have been called to live our purposes where we are. Yeah. Because sometimes friends, while they are amazing, they can be a hindrance.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I was one of those people, I couldn't have my friends in my class growing up. Like, I could be doing amazing. Yeah. And then don't let my friend come into my class. Yeah. Because I'm completely, and that's just how I am. And I feel bad, but I'm a talker. I'm a social person. If the teacher is talking, it's not nearly half as interesting as what, my friend has
Right.
to say. And so you're looking across rather than looking forward.
Yeah.
And you're not moving forward because you're so busy spending this time, having the, sharing the tea and kiki and all this kind of stuff, but you're not moving forward at all.
Yeah.
And it's a well-meaning friendship and relationship. Obviously, you guys are the best because that's your sister, but at the same time, your focus and your shift, your focus is shifted towards that person and that relationship rather than on your purpose and where you should be going and what you should be doing.
No, that's good. I think so we're about to move, and so one of my fears with my friends was like, oh no, like they're gonna forget about me, or like, and honestly it was because of like traumatic experiences that I've had in my friendships where you are out of sight, out of mind, where, they don't come through for you like, you come through for them. Like, have you dealt with like some trauma in your friendships? And
oh my gosh,
how did you get through
you
that?
know what, and this is why it was the hardest lesson, and this is why I prefaced the whole sisterhood piece of really sort of trying to come to terms with the season idea and being okay. Nobody wants to enter a relationship expecting it to have an expiration date.
Yeah, of course.
But what you do want to do is, and I've learned the hard way, is to leave room for the possibility of growth, and growth sometimes means exiting, and I've had some really bad experiences where I've had close friends, like best friends, exit my life unexpectedly, without argument, without anything happen. And when I tell you I still mourn that relationship to this day, it's sad, it's hurtful. And the only thing that you can sort of do to rationalize it is to say, like, I mean, it was for a season. You know, like sometimes, and you have to look at the other side to say, like, wow, well, who else did God bring into my life?
That's good perspective.
This person is exited. But do I have void? Do I have a lack in my life with this person not there? It's just the idea of the person's absence that really makes me sad. It's not the fact of what they were contributing to my life, that there's void there. If there was void there, then it would motivate me to want to reach out more. But the only thing that makes me want to reach out is my curiosity about what happened in our relationship. And I think that that's probably the biggest point of growth and maturity that's helped me shift to really understand how relationships happen in seasons. Because, after a while, once you've come to grips with the fact that that person is gone, you do have to assess, and say, like, okay, what was this person contributing? And is there somebody else? Or maybe I don't need that anymore.
That's real.
Or, maybe this wouldn't have worked because this person became this thing, or, whatever it is. And I don't look at it as, as a bad thing anymore. Because sometimes you try to rationalize and say, well, that person was going to go off and they weren't going to be anything. So that's why I needed to not be a part of that. Like they were going to go off and start doing drugs, or like when you're a teenager, that person, they started getting into this kind of craziness. But, and it doesn't always even end like that. That person's having an amazing life, a beautiful life. They, maybe they're married too. Maybe they have kids. Maybe they're doing amazing in their career. It's just about assessing the relationship and what that person and what that relationship did for you, and not excusing the fact that you had good times. And we're talking about past selves. My past self needed that person. Like my past self, like that person filled a void for me, like within sisterhood for those years. And I'm so happy I have those memories, and I had that just to get through, for that time. Do I necessarily need that now as an adult is the assessment that I can make, to say, like, you know what, somebody else feels that way for me. So I'm okay. You know?
I know when my friendships ended, it was more traumatic. It was like, a big blow up out of nowhere, and
Yeah.
you know, when someone kind of guts you, like when you make yourself vulnerable to them, and they just kind of just with no remorse, and it makes you question, like, were you ever really my friend? Like, how could you be that? How could you do that to me? And I think for a long time I was sitting there mourning what was in those times, like in the past, you know. And now that I'm here, I'm looking and saying, you know, maybe we couldn't go
further.
Together, and not in a mean way, but even with the way that you handled me, you couldn't be, you know, you didn't see, like, you didn't take the care that I took with you.
Right, that's good.
So, like, how could you come along with me in that? And not saying that I'm better or, you know, or anything like that. It's just, you can't handle me. Yeah. You know?
And that's the thing that makes it hard, because how would you ever know that about that person unless that happened?
Ooh. Yeah.
You know, because we don't know, you know, when we share in these vulnerable moments, that's the whole thing that makes vulnerability so risky.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what the person's going to do with that.
That's true.
You know, it's like you're opening yourself up and giving them a piece of you that's like, I don't know what you're going to do with this, but that's the risk in it. And I guess I'm okay with it. Yeah. And then you come to that situation where they have the decision to make. Right. You know, whether or not they're going to say, you know, I'm tucking that away. Yeah. Because that's a low blow for me. Yeah. Or if they're going to use it, like in your situation, to gut you. And that, I'm sorry that happened to you. That's so unfortunate. Yeah. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah. And what could, it's by God's grace that I'm resilient, because a lot of the stuff happened back to back. But also, it hasn't caused me to become callous. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I feel like with some people, and I get it. Like, for some people's response to trauma like that, it's just like, oh, I'm cutting off from everybody. And, you know, like, I'm done with you. Like, how do you remain, like, so vulnerable?
You know, first of all, and not to make this so deep, but I really do feel like God called me to vulnerability. And it's so hard. It is so hard, because I hate it. And I struggle with it. And I actually just recently journaled about it, because in times when we feel powerless, our vulnerability and feelings are the only thing we have control over. Yeah. That's the only thing we have power over. And so I think that what makes it so hard is that, you know, you have times when you get hurt, or you have times where you just don't feel like it. Yeah. You know? You just don't feel like sharing. Yeah. You don't want to be, you know, you don't want to let the person in. You don't want to, it's a relinquishing of power.
It is. It really is.
You know? And it almost, you know, vulnerability is weakness. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And so for me, I struggle with that tug and pull between strength and weakness, not wanting to be perceived as weak, but also just not wanting to, you know, you don't want people to view you a certain type of way. Yeah. Which goes back to that freedom piece of the conversation. Yeah. It's like, if you can be free from what others think about you, then you should feel free to be vulnerable. Yeah. And I think that that's sort of like where I'm trying to like get to in life, like master that piece of, you know, saying, all right, if I can just be free from what this person's going to think about me after I share this, you know, and think more of it, and not even like adding to my ego of what this could do for this person. Right. Yeah. Because I think that's what a lot of people use as motivation too, is like, you know, if you are vulnerable, this could free somebody else. And that becomes, it soothes your ego to say like, you know, it becomes kind of manipulative. Like, oh, well, if I share this, I'm going to heal you. You know, like I'm going to help you out. Right. Let me just share something with you real quick to help you out. Like, it's not even that. Like don't let that be your motivation. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the thing for me, is like, I do feel like I've been called to be vulnerable because it's just the human thing. You know, it's important for people to feel like no matter who you are, you should be able to reveal pieces about you that show that you're flawed, show that you're weak, show that you're not this superwoman person, or show, dispel myths about what a person might think is going on in your life.
Right. Right.
I think that's what it is for me.
Yeah. I think it goes back to like being a safe place. Like I really just want to be a safe place for people.
Yeah.
Like, you can let down your guard.
Exactly.
You can talk about what's bothering. I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, what? Like,
exactly.
I mean, if anything, it would just be like, oh, like empathizing with you, as opposed to like, oh no, that's too much for me.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, even like they talk about this thing like toxic relationships. I think people throw that around really loosely now. I do believe there are toxic relationships.
Oh no, definitely.
But I feel like people throw around the word like toxic.
Oh, absolutely.
Meaning hard or work. When relationships are work.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be cherry pie and sunshine and happiness, for that person or for you. And so you want to have a space where you can be celebrated, but also be like comforted and
of course
kept safe. So like, how do you remain a safe place for others?
I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm a safe space. I'll start there.
I think you are.
I hope I am.
I think you are.
I hope I am.
Yeah.
I have, what I learned over the years is that, you have to, I have learned that I've had good intentions and wanting to be a safe space, but didn't always go about doing it the right way. And having intentions on wanting to help. And my idea of helping, I was just doing too much. I was just doing too much. Like, you don't have to do anything sometimes in order to be a safe space.
Yes.
And I think that what I'm learning now is in order to present that, do less. Say less.
Yeah.
That's like a thing. Like, just say less. Say less. Do less.
Yeah.
Listen more. Those things are so important, because I learned the hard way, because people just stopped telling me stuff. And that, like, I was just doing too much. My heart was saying, I want to help.
Of course, yeah.
But what it was reading to other people was, you're making it about yourself. You're bringing it in. In my mind, I thought that I was sharing something to relate to what you just shared with me. But what you're really doing is, you're making it about yourself, or you're talking too much, or you're not listening to me.
Yeah.
And so when people just stop telling you things, and you see that they're confiding in other folks, and you're wondering why you're not looked at as like a safe space, it can be really jarring. Like, well, what is it that this person is doing that I'm not doing?
Right.
What are they providing you that's so safe?
Yeah.
That I'm not providing you. Don't you see my heart?
Yeah.
Don't you see my intentions? And you're making it about yourself. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You are using someone's vulnerability to feel closer to them.
Right.
But really, you should be looking at a person's vulnerability as like, I'm just happy you're sharing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm grateful that you're sharing.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at this as like, now I'm one step closer to becoming your best friend, or, now I feel like we're oh so close. Like, you're looking at it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's probably what I've learned to do, and how I've learned to try to become more of providing a safe space for people, is just trying to do less. And allow them room and space to just share on their own without me feeling like I need to be a part of that process.
Got you. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot who I was talking to recently, but they were telling me that they have like, they ask them, do you want me just to listen?
Yeah.
Do you want like some help? Or do you like, is this a venting session? Do you need me to step in, intervene in some way?
My husband and I do that.
Okay. That's really good.
We do that together.
Yeah.
And it has actually helped our communication. because sometimes you do feel like I just need to vent. I need to get this out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want you to remark.
Yeah.
I don't need you to comment. And I think that's also been what helped. I think that's also what has helped me in seeing how that has played out in our relationship. And, you know, seeing for me at times when I would be, you know, emotional about something and he would be like, so do you want... So do you, you know how, you know, I'm so dramatic. I could just come into the room like, you know, tell me how, you know, and this, you know, and then I'll just, you know, drop the mic and he'll just be kind of like, so do you want me to, is this like an advice, like, are you, how do you want me to engage?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you know, I even have to figure out how I want him to engage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, I mean, I think that that's an amazing tool because, and I think that the anchor of that is communication because it's like you have to be mature enough to say, let me set my ego aside because I have an opinion right now.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be expressed. I need to figure out how you want me to engage with this information that you're sharing with me.
Right. And even, you know, whatever, just to bring it home, but even with friendships, sometimes, even if you know your friend should be doing something differently, there's a time and a place, right, for everything. So like if you made a decision and you're upset about the decision you made, it's not my place, and at that time anyway, to be like, told you so. No, like, okay, you just need somebody to, here's my shoulder.
Exactly.
And then when you're ready to talk, if you want to talk, then we can figure out a way to move forward, you know? Yeah. So let's talk about your art for a second. So you said that you're creative. So in what ways are you creative?
So, I've always been into theater, vocal music, my high school career was filled with theater and music. I sang in several choirs in high school, small group. I played the English handbells, and that was my outlet. I've changed my relationship with that part of who I was because I used to be kind of, I don't know, a little quieter about that fact, but I think now I see how important it was for me growing up just to have music as my outlet. And so I love that as an adult educator, I love that I had that. Yeah. So I'm so grateful for that. Yeah. Music is still a big part of my life. But more just on the listening side. Okay. I don't write. I'm not a musician, but I do love to sing. Yeah. I love to listen to good music. And I think that that's probably like the biggest way that I engage in music now is just like listening and enjoying how it makes me feel. So, and then of course on the theater side, I acted all throughout high school. And then when I was in grad school, I wrote my first production. Okay. And so I've always enjoyed writing. I started off journaling when I was younger. I have some of my old journals. And it's nice to look back on those things. But I can see a trend of storytelling that even when I was journaling, I was journaling telling the story. You know what I mean? Yeah. It wasn't like the type of relationship where like Moesha and her diary. It was more of like as I sat there, you know, it was just like it was just so dramatic, you know, and that's really cool, and had so, you know, so much depth. It was just you could just see the sort of the vision behind how I was experiencing life. And I think that a lot of writers, that's how they experience life. They don't experience life just as like I came into the room and sat down, but it's just very, there's so much depth into the ways that we experience life. And so when I had the opportunity to start writing productions, I grew over time and over those years of really figuring out how to tell a story on stage.
Yeah.
And tell it in a way that I had never seen before, but by the way that I thought it should be told.
Okay.
And so I wanted to really marry the things I loved about musicals and the ways that musicals made people feel and gave you, you know, this sort of song and dance and production and you know, theatrics behind the story, but also I really wanted the drama behind a good play. And I think that that was what I sort of pushed to do throughout the time when I was writing shows for Black Broadway when we first started. And so, and now I think I identify my art still through theater, still through music, but mainly through storytelling, because I really love, and I realized, I think it came from a hodgepodge of both my parents.
Okay.
Because my mom, she is from the South, so she talks to anybody.
Okay.
You know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And can find connections and relate to people.
Yeah.
And my dad, he's a businessman who he likes to interview people.
Okay. Okay.
And he interviews people in order to learn more about something that he may not know about, but also in order to sort of draw connections with them as well. So I think I kind of grew up in that sort of space. And now, I mean, my talking gets me in trouble. It's always gotten me in trouble. It's always got me in trouble. But I think now I realize that there's really an artistic gift in being able to draw out stories.
Yeah.
And to identify what is a good story and what people may want to hear about.
Yeah.
And that's something that's really fun for me.
Yeah.
And I think that that's sort of the biggest artsy thing in my personal life that I am sort of embodying and finding ways to sort of develop that as an art form.
Yeah. So you touched on Black Broadway. Like, so what is Black Broadway?
So Black Broadway is my baby. Black Broadway is a performing arts company that my husband and I own. I started Black Broadway in 2009. I was in grad school. And a funny quick story is that so I did the Black History show in the hometown, like where I grew up in South Jersey. And the first year the show was called The Evolution. And it was a great show. We used the resources that we had. I love looking back on and talking to like my parents and my family, my brother, about, you know, sort of how we got started.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very much like a family effort from costumes to, you know, rehearsing at the house and all that kind of stuff. And the second year, our show was called Black Broadway. I wanted to highlight the shows that were on Broadway that were predominantly Black shows. So we did pieces from The Wiz, from Dreamgirls, from Raising the Sun, Fences, Lion King, and Serafina, and all these amazing shows. And so then the third year, all the kids were coming back and saying, are we going to do Black Broadway again? We're going to do Black Broadway. We're going to do Black Broadway.
Yeah.
And I was saying, well, guys, that was the name of the show.
Yeah.
That's not the name of our group.
Wow. Yeah.
And I mean, really, they named it.
Yeah.
You know, which I think is the most powerful part of it all, is that, like, I mean, we didn't have a name. I was just saying it was just a Black History show.
Yeah.
But they, you know, they were saying, are we going to do Black Broadway again? I said, okay, you know what? This is a thing.
Yeah.
And so, so we went and we've produced, I think about 8 shows now, and we've grown from doing, the Evolution was more of like a musical review. We had some pieces in there that the kids recited. We had poetry, we had dance, we had those different kinds of things. But then by the time we got to Tulsa, which was our last show, about the like Black Wall Street and the Tulsa race riots, that was when it was a musical. And so we did that show in 2016, and it was awesome. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I
came to Tulsa with my my mom, and it was
happy.
great. No,
Thank
it was really
you.
really good. It was really good.
Thank you. Tulsa was, Tulsa, everything is God. Ooh, sorry. Everything is God led in terms of, I can never understand how we get from a brainstorm to a full, actualized production. I can never wrap my brain around that. And that goes back to that question you were talking about with, what are those moments you have when you want to get back to yourself? When you see that on stage and you're like, wow. I cannot believe that. That is amazing. It just doesn't make sense to me. I can't wrap my brain around it. And for that show, Cleve wrote the music for it. We had a band, and it was just an amazing production. And from there, we just realized we were doing so much teaching because the kids, we were in a predominantly white community where, Black Broadway was really many of our Black students' opportunities to get lead roles.
Yes.
Because it was like, listen, you do Black Broadway, all the roles are Black.
Yes.
You don't have to worry about being a maid in Sound of Music or, being in the periphery of Guys and Dolls or, trying to fit yourself into a character for Grease because historically we weren't there.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
And that always was a point of contention with me as well because, I came from a very rigorous theater program in high school, and our director, he was one of the guys, he wanted to cast true to the Broadway show. Okay. And so he wanted this person to have curly hair because this person he wanted this person to have this, and it was very much limiting for people of color to receive these huge roles until my senior year when we did Aida. And even then, that story is about, slavery between Egypt and Nubia.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't the most empowering kind of thing, but as Black Broadway grew, I really wanted to provide a platform for kids, for Black kids to be on stage, being proud of these stories that we were telling. Yeah. And being able to say, we represent this history that isn't often shared. Yes. These stories aren't being told. And if they're being told, a lot of times they're not being told by people that look like us or who experienced it. And so I felt like that was an important point of empowerment. But then also, we were doing a lot of teaching. Yes. And so we said, well, you know what? I think that this could be a thing. Okay. So let's take it full time. Yeah. So we quit our jobs. Wow. And we made our proposals, and we moved down here to the DMV area and just started pitching schools to start working within schools to teach our Black Broadway curriculum. Yeah. Partnered with performing arts and history within schools and agencies down here. Yeah. So that's the long...
No, that's good.
History of Black Broadway.
How did you find... First of all, the fact that you did that is amazing because I feel like for a lot of people, they feel like, there's just... They leave it at, there is no blank opportunities for us. Insert whatever here. But a lot of people should and could make their own. Make their own way. How did you find the courage to just uproot your life and come down here and pursue something that you're really passionate about?
Courage and sanity, same thing. Tomato. I don't know. You know what? It's so crazy because, God puts you in the mindset of what he wants, of what you should be doing when you're seeking him for that specific thing. Yeah. And I have no idea. Yeah. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. I have no idea. We look back on it and we still like, do I even know that I would make the same decision again? That's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah.
I just don't. I just know that it was one of those like, you are here for such a time as this. Like, you really want to seek me. You know, I'm going to tell you where to go, what to do. Yeah. Like, this is how bad you want it. Go ahead. That's all I can say. Yeah. I mean, it's really it's still crazy to us. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I don't even know why we did it. Yeah. I mean, we had good jobs. You know, we were living fine. We were making do. But I think that I think there is, you know, sort of that thing in the back of your mind as like, what if you don't do it? Yeah. And, you know, I would always think like, even if this doesn't work, I'm just proud to say that we did it. Yeah. You know, and we were able to, for 2 years, you know, make a house. You know, it was not easy at all. Right, like, it was very, very hard. But we made it. We're 2 years full-time both of us, you know, full-time entrepreneurs with a son. And it's just God. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. You know, it just directs to him because I have no idea. Yeah. I feel like we should have just been out on the street because who just makes jobs out here, you know? You just,
no, seriously.
Like, you know, like it's just what it is. Like out here just making a job. Yeah. Quitting something that, you know, you're raised to believe in stability and all this kind of stuff and wisdom with, you know, all of that. But I mean,
how would you... Like, what would you, for those people who are considering doing something but are afraid to take that leap, like, what advice would you give them? Like, I know, like I said, we're raised to, like, we need stability, we need, like, to be sure about something. Like, how do you balance, like, being sure, or being responsible even, and being brave?
Yeah. I mean, I think you have, first of all, like, I cannot make any decision without God. Yeah. Like, that's something that's, like, so first of the first. Yeah. It's like the most important thing. Yeah. Like, Cleve and I really sought God on that decision. And that was, like, the first thing. Yeah. And then I think that the second thing is to pray about who you should surround yourself with. Yeah. And who can feed this thing that you know that God gave for you. Because you'll be surprised, you know, who will be there to feed your dream versus who will be there to, you know, make you cause doubt or reinforce the fear that you already have. Yeah. Because, you know, like, nothing is done without fear, but it's like a flame. Yeah. If you have people around you who are fanning it, you know, it can really, really blow up. And sometimes you have to isolate yourself. Like, and I think that's what Cleve and I ended up doing. We really started withdrawing ourselves. And I know that people, if people in my personal community, tribe / family hear this, they're gonna be like cringing. But we literally had to withdraw from some relationships, not in a way that was a negative, but just so that we could cling to each other and cling to God and allow, you know, those thoughts and those prayers and those prophecies to be reinforced so that the more that we shared out, the more confident we felt. Right. And the less likely we felt that we would be to feel discouraged if somebody challenged us. Right. You know, because that's the thing too. You know, you don't want to get defensive, but you will have to defend your dream. Yeah. Yeah. And you have to, well, I felt like we needed to withdraw ourselves so we could be so full of what we knew about where we were going, so that when we were confronted with opposition, we could, in a mature, and eloquent way, defend what we were doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good. And just quickly, I want to touch on, you're doing Chronicles of a Golden Girl.
Yeah.
Okay. So could you tell people a little bit about what that is?
Yeah. Chronicles of a Golden, I think that like I said, I think that throughout my life when I was journaling, I was journaling it as, sort of like this television episode. I mean, just so dramatic. And I could probably think of a whole first season worth of a 90s sitcom of That's me cute. Growing up with these different isolated experiences that I had that ended in either of the moral of the story is or want or whatever. But I think that I felt that it became more tangible as I got into my early 20s or so. And I felt like these experiences needed some type of title. I don't know why titles make things more official and you're just there, and I felt like, real. It makes it real. It was like, these are chronicles. Yeah. You have this experience, and at the end of the day, it would be a hilarious joke to tell. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then you're like, this is not just a good story. This is like a reoccurring thing. This is like a season. This is an episode. So I think that's where it started. It started off as me journaling. Okay. Chronicles of a Golden Girl. And it was just me inserting things in my notes section where it would just kind of be me on the bus and, something crazy happened. I remember one time, my phone broke completely and I couldn't make contact with people. And it was just crazy things that, would happen. And you're just kind of it forces you to reflect. And so anytime I felt like I was in that position, I would sort of, journal it. Yeah. And so then I said, I want to do a little bit more. And I tried these different avenues that other people were doing. Gotcha. I tried blogging, I tried vlogging, I tried, all of these different kinds of things that I thought were going to be my pathway, and they just weren't, they just weren't there for me. And then I decided to write a one-woman show, and I just wanted to pull some sort of pieces, some inspiration. And so that was a thing. And so I'm I still feel but I need something that's going to be an ongoing thing. And I always wanted to be a talk show host. Okay. I grew up watching Ricky Lake and Jenny Jones and, of course, Oprah and things that I shouldn't have been watching when I was young. It was just you're just too young to be watching this for what? That's funny. Why are you getting wrapped up in these adults, full-grown adults drama? Yeah. But I liked, again, going back, I liked the storytelling behind it. I liked all of that. And so I decided last year in 2018 that I was going to start a talk show. Yeah. And again, it felt like one of those things, with us moving, I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I am not necessarily a techie person. And my husband, bless his heart, he's one of those people that's just do it. You know, if God gives you the vision, it may be a little blurry, the sound may go out here and there, something's gonna happen. But, at least you'll be able to say that you did not quit. You didn't stop. That you are good. Yes. If God planted a talent in you, that's undeniable. You look back on some of these stars' audition tapes, and they look nothing like how they look today. They got a side ponytail, edges slicked down. They got a belly shirt on, they look crazy, but the talent was there. Yes. And that's what people saw through. People see through some of the blurry mistakes and things like that. You can fix that. You can't fix a personality, for a TV show. And so I think that's what sort of motivated me. I was, we were filming in the bedroom, just trying to get a nice backdrop. We were filming different places, and that would just be it.
Yeah.
And so for the first season we had 18 episodes, and now we're in the second season, which I'm excited to have soon, and all of that. But that's sort of what's happened. Now we're just highlighting stories of women of color who are just doing awesome things and putting it on blast. Because I think that's important.
Yeah. And I like what you were saying about your husband is like, just do it, right?
Yeah.
My husband's the same way. It's just like, he's just like, just do it. But I think it can be really easy to get caught up in like the technical stuff.
Oh, girl, please.
Yes. Like, you feel like you have to have everything perfect and mapped out. You gotta, like, oh, should I, you're trying to figure out all this technical stuff out before you even do anything at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are you looking up things that are not in your wheelhouse? Just focus on what you can do.
Yes.
Like, I don't know about, they got the ring lights
right.
or backdrops and all these different kinds of things.
A whole production.
And, a whole production. You go on YouTube, and I think that's the other thing about it is when you have a creative idea, don't go now and look at all these other people that are doing something similar.
Me.
You know what I mean? And I'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I could get a backdrop like this, or I could get an outfit like that, or I could arrange the sofa like this. It's just different things like that where it goes from being inspired by to now I'm getting a little envious.
Yes.
There's a little jealousy that comes in.
Look down on what you're doing.
Yeah, then you're looking down, you're feeling pitiful, and you're saying, look at my little thing. Like, it's a little something. You start downplaying it.
Yes.
And the reality is, like, if you, what my mom said, it's a poor frog who doesn't praise their own pond. Like, it's just That's sad thing if if you don't even celebrate yourself and your own thing.
Yeah.
And you start to backtrack on what God has told you to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what it is that it's like, okay, if this is your thing, do your thing with the talent and skills that you have to the best of your ability.
Yes.
And then once you get a body of work or whatever it is, then you can start finding ways to elevate it and, refine it. Yeah. But the reality is that, like, the talent is always undeniable. Even the kids who are in gallery plays beating on the they don't even have a drum. But talented. You can hear their talent through the little paint can that they got going on.
That's really good. That's really good because one of the things I like stress. I have to keep reminding myself is use what you have already. Use what you have. And what's interesting is when you have less, you're more creative.
It's true.
You're forced to be creative.
True. It's very true.
As opposed to having everything at your disposal, like all the fancy equipment or whatever. But now you're kind of like, okay, now you just look like everybody else.
Exactly.
You're just a carbon copy.
Exactly. Yeah. And what you don't realize is, you have more skills than you give yourself credit for because now, and even with doing Chronicles of a Golden Girl, I'm like, wow. So now I can be able to say that, like, I was a director, like I was directing my own self, but I still had to manage myself. I still had to create my own content. I still had to reach out to my own guests, figure out the professional side. So now I'm like a production assistant, like I'm doing this kind of.
Real.
It's like different things that you are building your skill set as you're doing it. If you just start, because God is not expecting you. He's not expecting you to be the end.
That's real.
When you start, he just needs you to get started with what you got. And then you'll gain more throughout, and then you'll be able to work up towards, whatever that end thing that he's shown you in your vision.
That's so real. Like, because even again in the Bible, like almost every story, it's everybody's like, me?
Right.
How?
Yeah.
Right? And he always gives them the tools, the people, the opportunities that they need. It's like, I just need you to be obedient.
I just need you to go.
I said. Yes. You'll figure the rest out later.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's good. I needed that. So as we're kind of bringing it home, what advice would you give to yourself 10 years ago?
Well, so 10 years ago, and I just celebrated my 10-year anniversary from Howard graduating. And it's funny because this has been in my mind a lot recently, just thinking about who I was and all of that. And I probably would just tell myself, take advantage of any opportunity that you have. Don't worry about don't worry first. And I think too, you know, I think there were things that I wish that I had done, but I was worried about the connections and relationships that I had, like with my family, and, you know, missing out on things or feeling like people would be sad or miss me, or, you know, like, what if I, you know, move away from home? Dun, 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 you know, things like that. And the reality is, like, you know, everybody's going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay.
Yeah.
You know, people will get over it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you will have maximized the most of your life because you decided to follow your heart and follow your dreams. I think 10 years ago, I was so worried about accomplishments and stability and making people proud that I didn't live and take risks as much as I probably would have wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, whether, and I'm not talking about doing anything crazy, you know, even if that just meant me going to live abroad for X amount of time, or, you know, things that I saw folks doing that I could say, wow, like, I probably would want to do. Even if it's something like joining a dance team.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. So it probably would be like, go ahead and do it. But also, like don't be afraid of commitment to something.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay if, you know, the dance team that you really want to do has rehearsals every Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and not wanting to
exactly
do it just because,
right.
you know, there's a level of commitment there
right.
that sort of ties you a little bit. Or, you know, like, oh, I want to, you know, do this certification program, but it's going to require me to, you know, take evening classes. Okay.
Okay.
So, you know, like, just do, you know, just do it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think maybe I definitely would have told myself to travel more. Yeah. I would have wanted, I love traveling. I've always loved traveling. And I don't think that I really, and I think that goes back to that original question. So I think everything's going full circle about my childhood not seeing boundaries or limitations in anything. Yeah. I think especially 10 years ago where I didn't realize the possibilities of things as much. I think that I was, I worked within, I took risks even within my purview. Yeah. So I don't think my family would agree that I didn't take risks. I think they would think that I took risks. Right. But those risks were calculated and they were within my comfort zone and my safety net. Yeah. I was still comfortable taking this risk. Yeah. Because in the back of my mind, it, you know, that I had some type of other plan or some type of other thing. It wasn't that, but it would be, you know, to take a risk that would be an actual risk that could potentially, you know, I mean, expose you to something that you would have never imagined. Yeah, yeah. So those probably would be some of the things that I would tell myself 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. I like what you're saying about, to other people it looks like it's a risk, but to yourself, you know your potential. Oh, yeah. You know it's safe for yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, even, you know, like a risk for me today, people would think a risk for me today would be, okay, well, we're moving. We're moving to Texas, or we're moving to North Carolina, nowhere north of here, because I can't do these winters. That's one thing I know for a fact. It's not happening. But somewhere warmer, okay. Yeah. But something outside my comfort zone would be, we're moving to Ghana. Yeah. You know, we're moving to South Africa. Yeah. We're moving to Ethiopia. We're gonna be traveling. You know, now we're gonna be a traveling family, and we're gonna travel all around the world. You know, figuring it out and something. Yeah. You know, that would be a true risk. Yeah. Yeah. You know, but I think that's the thing. I think, and I think the last thing would be to not let people's prophecies or people's excitement about your potential make you fearful. of actually pursuing
that was for me.
those things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because it can be so intimidating and scary when people are like, oh, you have so much in you.
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, I could just see you being X, Y, and Z. And you're just kind of like, okay, like, yeah, you're like,
go back into my
you're like, okay,
bubble,
like, whoo, because I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm getting overwhelmed. Please stop now.
Yes.
Like, all right, this is be too much. Because what happens if I'm not all that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that happened a lot too for me, even growing up beyond 10 years, but just people being impressed by something that maybe your norm.
Yeah.
And not to be, be like, I'm anything, but just when people, say things and you're just like, A, I don't even see how I can be that thing.
Yeah.
Where those steps are coming in.
Yeah.
And B, like, you're making me feel overwhelmed because I already feel overwhelmed low key. Because I just did this thing.
Yes.
Like, I'm just coming off the stage. Yes. And now you telling me, oh, girl.
Everybody calm down.
I'm like, this was it, y'all. Like, this was the thing. I don't know what y'all talking about. This was the thing. This was the potential actualized. Yes. You don't realize this was a daydream and now we got this going on. And now you're trying to tell me about all the things I'm about to do? No. Like, I'm about to take a nap. Like, I know what you talking about. Like, that's exactly it. Like, it's just, that's the whole thing. So that's what I would probably tell myself. I'm done now. No, but that was the last thing.
No, that was good. That was good because, I think when you focus too much on what other people say your potential is, it's like you carry their weight too. Like, the burden of having to please them
that
too.
That is it. That is so good. Yeah. Exactly. It's like yet another, weight that I'm carrying of like somebody's expectation of me to do something that I don't even know what it is.
Yeah. And it's so fragile. Like that dream might be so like, it's not a tree yet. It's a little,
exactly.
It's a bloom.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
And you're just like, chill out. Yes. Like, oh my goodness.
Relax.
Right. Or give me some resources.
Yeah.
Like, that's why, my husband and I, we say all the time, we're going to stop telling kids about their potential and tell them about where they actually are.
Nice.
And figure out how can we help you get like we're not edifying you.
Yeah.
We're still edifying you, but I don't want you to get, stuck or stagnant in this idea that you have a lot of potential, but I also don't want it to scare you into feeling paralyzed by, the weight of people's expectations of you beyond what you're currently producing. Like, is this what you're talking about?
Right.
Is this what you mean?
Wow,
is this what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Is this the thing? Is this aligning with your vision?
Yes.
For me?
And that's dangerous.
It is.
Because I'm even now, I'm thinking back to when people, potential. And one of my greatest fears is to be stuck in potential.
Yes, me too.
Like, I don't want to be stuck in potential.
It's the scariest feeling.
It is.
That is a scary feeling. And the feeling that the thing that I think most recently has scared me that I've had to get free from is when me actualizing my potential doesn't look like what other people thought it would look like. And so them being disappointed and me being proud and God being proud of me because I'm aligned with his will, but other people's vision for my life don't is not what God's vision for my life was. And having to sit with them while they mourn the fact that that's not my reality.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm still doing a good thing. You still should be proud.
No, I totally get that. Like my mom with singing, she wants me to do American Idol type stuff. I'm not a competitive. I don't want my gift to be competing with somebody else's gift.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't ever want to be in a place of competition. I feel like that is a competition.
And
so it doesn't align with my beliefs. So then when I'm not doing it to her, it's like, oh, you're wasting your potential. Like all these people could be here. It's like, no, I just want to find my own way. And it might take longer, but at least I'll be doing it on my own terms. So holding on to my own personal beliefs and my own, and for other people, that might be their right. That's fine. That's fine. I just know for myself, one, I don't align with it, but also I know that I would always be constantly comparing myself to someone else instead of actually enjoying what God gave me.
That's good.
God, you didn't give me enough.
Exactly.
I don't want to be in that place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
and that's the place where you realize that you know yourself.
Yeah.
And not only that you know yourself, but you know yourself, and you're choosing to align your life with the facts that you know about yourself that may conflict with what other people think about you or anything. And I was joking about the winter thing, but that was something that was like this past winter was really harsh on me with seasonal depression and of course experiencing pregnancy at the same time, and emotions and hormones it was literally the clearest thing that I know without a doubt that I gained from this past winter experience is that I will not be able to in my entire life continue to endure winters. Like the grayness, the snow, the cold weather. I need vitamin D in my life in order to be like positive and constructive and productive. Like I need that. I need sun. And it comes out in so many different ways. Even if like we're looking for a home, I like a lot of light. I like, certain things. And it's really God just saying, listen to yourself. Listen to who you are and align your life so that it will allow you to be successful. Why are you putting yourself through something just for the sake of being close to family or being able to because it's within your comfort zone? You've always been in this area, so you feel like you need to stay here, and then you're miserable and you're literally looking like a zombie for half the year. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
I totally understand.
I appreciate you sharing that.
So as we wrap up, what has freedom cost you? Like freedom and like fighting fear and all of that. Like what has that cost you?
I think the process of getting free cost me a lot. And I've been reflecting recently around, the relationship piece. And I do feel that it has cost relationships. Whether it's even sort of like a thing where you're saying, okay, God, like, let's say I want to get free from, or I don't even want to have to experience this type of emotion. Like maybe it's drama with a guy or these types of things. And that means that you have to get free from the desire to like be dating casually or like doing these different types of things, like because you envision your life having like a stable relationship or whatever, which in turns costs you like going out in certain places, doing certain things like wild nights, no one night stands, these crazy kind of things that you really, not crazy, but just like things that, people say happens, right, in life or in your 20s or whatever.
That's the norm.
Right. And so I think that that's part of like what I mean when I say that, like experiences and things that when I want to be free and I want to experience freedom from fear at this age, that means that you do have to sacrifice certain things. We sacrifice vacations and traveling and being able to, up and go to this happy hour or go to, this day party or different things like that. Because part of the free from fear piece is being able to be an entrepreneur, and sometimes it doesn't always lend itself to disposable income. But I do think also, freedom has cost me relationships in terms of, people who were contributing towards my bondage, having to adjust that relationship or end that relationship or, having tough conversations. And that's the part that's really hard, when you have to confront a relationship that is a part of the reason why you're not free, So I think those are pretty much the things that I feel like I've experienced that freedom has cost me. But I honestly feel in having experienced these last few years true freedom and true liberation, especially working through that fear piece. I think once you start to go through that process, you feel less like you're losing something and more like you're gaining. You know? Because I feel like I've gained so much more than I've lost in this process. I mean, and the things that were lost were needed to be lost. You know? They needed to be shedded in order to experience that true feeling of like liberation.
You know? That's good. So if someone were to look at the story of your life, what would you hope that they would walk away from? Like knowing or learning or being inspired to blank?
I want people to see a real story. We see so much that's called real and it's not real. That's reality TV, a whole genre.
That's true.
You know, is dedicated towards setting up experiences of people and reactions and responses and engagement that are not actually real at all. And I want people to see, because I feel like even living my life that I'm going through the real version. Like I'm not going through, you know, the lottery version or, you know, the sweepstakes version. This, I have learned, this is not a fast track life. This is not a fast track story I'm telling. This is a real life story full of mental health issues and, you know, and tears and loss and pain and joy and hard work, sacrifice, and literally, like, you know, starting from the bottom. You know, where you work hard, where you trust God, where you have faith. And I think that the other piece is that, you know, for me, I really want people to take away that God, he's real. You know, and that my faith and as a Christian, that it is a faith that people are still believing in. You know, it's not passe. It's not something for, you know, black folks who are worshiping a white God. It's not that. You know? And I think that goes back to the reality of, if people can look at my life and be able to see that God is real because of the things that I've gone through, you know, that is something that I would want people to take away. You know, for it to be a reflection of Christ. Like, wow, you know, her life is literally a testimony that God, like, you can't read her story without believing that God is real. You know, and I'm not just shouting him out because it's just for the sake of me, you know, giving props to somebody.
Right.
You know, but that literally, if I were to tell a person a portion of my story, they would be like, what? Oh, you must have God or something. Because there's no way. That doesn't even make sense. You know? So those would probably be the two things that I would want people to take away.
That's good. So what do you love about yourself? Like, what do you love about yourself? Like, it could be, I don't know, that you're joy-giving or that you're resilient or whatever. Like, what do you think? No, what do you think? Now, what do you know that you love about yourself?
I love, I love my ability to make people smile. I love making people feel good about themselves and in the, whether it's in the moment. It's I love that. I love being able to have a good time, and I love that I'm able to do that. I also love my heart because I know in my heart of hearts, that I am well-meaning.
Yeah.
And I want good for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think I've learned that more about myself the more I get older, and how things make me emotional.
Yeah.
Because, and that's one area that I've gotten free from, is that, being emotional is not a weakness, and it's not an impairment, that it's a gift to be able to connect so deeply with something outside of yourself.
Yes.
That it moves you emotionally, whether to tears or to laughter or, to anger,
Yeah.
And so I think that that's something that I also have grown to love about myself, that I really love people.
Yeah.
I really, really love people. And my parents have instilled that in me. And I think it's both a nature and nurture thing, that my parents have instilled that in me, but it also is in me, just loving people no matter who they are, where they come from, connecting with people outside of my race, culture, religion, anything. I just love people, which I think also is why I love storytelling, because I love hearing about what people are doing and connecting. And so I think that those are some things I love about myself.
Yeah. And in that, what do you love about being a Black woman? What do you love about Black women?
Well, I think we talked about this before, and it still rings true that I think we are classic,
Yeah.
I think Black women are like the little black dress that never goes out of style.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black women have always been, and we always will be, just classic.
Yeah.
Pearls.
Yeah.
When I think about pearls, it doesn't matter, the timeline.
Yeah.
From, years and years ago to present day.
Yeah.
Pearls will always complement a woman's outfit.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel Black women are. Do we evolve? Yes. Have we, but we are, just in the mere fact that we can take something like cornrows.
Yeah.
And which have been out for centuries.
Yes.
And still rock them today to the point of envy.
Yeah.
Where people want to rename and reclaim them. That to me just shows the power of our trendiness, but also just our ability to make all things cool and hip and in, and you can wear them, whether you're accepting a speech at the Oscars or whether you're wearing them so you can work out in the garden. I think that's just who we are, not just in this really superficial way of accessory, but I think also in depth, in our language, in our connection, in our ways that we advocate for different causes, in the ways that we love our family members, our men, our children. These things are things that I love about being a Black woman because they're so innate to who I am. I don't have to try to do it. I don't have to, YouTube's available, but I don't need YouTube to teach me how. These are things across socioeconomic status, across no matter what the terrain is, no matter where you are or where you're from, you have it. It's intrinsic. I love that about being a Black woman.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. And we did talk about that before. Yeah. And you also mentioned that you would call yourself the golden Black girl. So can you give an explanation why you chose
I love gold.
Yeah.
I love the color gold. Purple is my favorite color, but there's something about gold that's so pristine. It is royal. And I think that it's both it's a statement of my past, my present, and my future. It's not something that I look at, like Paul said, as if I've already attained this golden, nature. It's something that inspires me, but it's something I haven't attained, but I already am at the same time.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something that it humbles me to the point of, working really hard, but it also empowers me to remember who I am in my existence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that reminder and encouragement at the same time. It's pushing me and pulling me at the same time.
Yeah.
So I love, I love to remind myself and others that we're golden girls.
Yeah.
That like we are, we are and we will be. We've always been and we're going to become. That's why I love that and that's what it means to me, and that's how I utilize that phrase in my life.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's really good. Keisha, this has been amazing. This is really, 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 really good. Yes, yes. Thank you for being a part of this. I can't wait to share your story with everyone else. Do you have anything that you would like to promote or?
Well, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that you had me on. I'm so excited. I love podcasts, so this is just fun. It's so much fun, and I like to talk, so this was just a perfect thing for me, and I love sharing these types of conversations because we all ultimately we need to have them. We need to have them more, and we need to put them on public platforms for people to know what we're thinking about, what our journeys are like, and so of course you can follow Chronicles of a Golden Girl. We are having our season 2. And I'm so excited about that. On Instagram at Chronicles of a Golden Girl, or you can follow my personal page at Keishology, KeisholOgy. And those two are my Instagram handles. And then if you're interested in Black Broadway, our website is Black Broadway PAC, which stands for Performing Arts Company.com. And I'm just excited. I'm excited for what's to come, which is pretty unknown, but the unknown is okay. That's a safe spot. So it's better than the known that you don't want. So definitely keep in touch. I love to meet new people and find out about new stories. And if people have a story that they feel like is unique and needs to have a platform, hit us up.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course.